Hey guys, how I struggle. I struggle so much to do this. Alright. Oh guys, I struggle with this. Anyway, here we go. The Hero's Legend. My very own personal Kagero deck profile. Welcome to the Phoenix Zone. Our starting Vanguard is Lizard Hero Undukes. I prefer this card over Red Pulse because, yeah, he is slower, but Red only checks from the top 5 and you're not guaranteed a hit, which by that I refer to getting a grade 3 and actually as a target and actually being able to add it to the hand. But with this guy, he not only assures you get a card, but from any card with the namesake, that being Overlord, that you want. And I find it amazing for different situations, which I might not exactly know at that time which card's best. And if I'm going through trouble waiting for Generation Break 1 and going -1, along with a Counterblast, on top of the fact that I might have him retired, it just certainly makes up for that, since I can get whatever I want. And of course, since the situation will change varying by game, it's just nice that I can get whatever card I want for whatever situation I want. Anyway, I just feel it's better recklessly choosing any spur-of-the-moment card as opposed to being able to think and get what I want or need most. Next up, we got 4 of all my triggers are Flame Dragon crits, all of them. We have 4 Blue-Ray Draco Kid and 4 Magnum Shot Draco Kid. I look, here's the way I look at the triggers. Well, and of course, you should be using Flame Dragon crits all the time, unless you have an Ultra Pro. See what I did there? Like Ultra Pro, Vanguard Publisher. No? Okay. Excuse not to. The way I see it, there's the fierce, tough-looking paracriticals, that being Burst Rain and Seal Bella, and the cute chibi ones like Blue-Ray and Magnum Shot. And since someone already used, and not only that, but I'm a little OCD, and they both say the same suffix, Draco Kid, which it's just more comfort for my OCD. And one person already uses a tough pair, so I'm using the cute ones, well, at least in my opinion. Plus, not only the flavor text, but I like the card art more as well. And A, they are adorable as all heck, as has been aforementioned. And then B, I just want to avoid net decking as much as possible here. So, yeah, you're welcome. And then 4 Magnum Shot Draco Kid, because I decided just the general 8 crit 4 draw 4 heal. I like the lineup, but I like the way it affects my drive checks, because the majority clearly are the cards getting extra additions to the hand. So in a small way, you get an OTT factor with a bunch of cards in your hand, and it also serves as a way for using the effects, the beneficial effects of a trigger. That gains, I gain the effects of the trigger of both aspects of that trigger, depending on whose turn it is. Because if it's my turn, I get to use the power and the critical to full effect, and on my opponent's turn, if they damage me, I get to use Gatling Claw's power-up skill, and I get the use out of the draw as well. So I feel like no matter whose turn it is, I still get use out of whatever trigger I pull. So it's just it's avoiding the waste of any triggers, which I mean, I like that. Plus, I just really, really, really love Gatling Claw. Speaking of which, we of course run 4 of him. So yeah, he's just the call, Counterblast 1, put it in Soul, retire grade 0. It's nice for getting rid of cards. I'm actually hoping one of my friends, Prince King, I'm hoping he actually watches the entire deck list just to see everything it's capable of. That way he can start strategizing against how to counter it, because don't worry, I especially made this deck just to be annoying for people that want to either bind or, well, not bind, but that want to either lock. So this is kind of a also anti-Link Joker deck as well as Golden Royal deck. The only deck that can counter this efficiently is, I would say Bermuda's, but I don't even think they have enough hand to defend all of my onslaughts. So basically, unless you're Kagero or Narukami, or unless somehow Prince King finds a way to make his Gurglet deck like purely just nothing but combos, I don't know. Keep in mind, this is my personal deck profile. I use it all the time. Nobody has this exact deck list because I've never shared it before. And I used a build exactly similar to this back in 2012 with the OG Aramo, the OG bar, and everything. So it's just kind of an involved version of that. I use this card since, again, the same reason as beneficial triggers on both turns. And then, I just don't see sense in using cards that go in Soul for 3k. Like, I get it powers up boosters, potential 11k, potential magic numbers. It's just, why call a trigger from your hand unless it's an effect trigger that's worth getting off? Because, like, this card, it's worth getting off. But you only use it, like, once, and then the rest is for guard. Or, stuff like that. But, like, when you're calling a 10k crit shield just for a 3k power-up, it just doesn't make sense to me. And then, but you see what I'm saying? I mean, it just, I don't know. And also I like it because, again, it does retire cards before they even get a chance to use them in most cases. Usually my opponents won't get a chance to use their starter. And yes, Prince King, I did intentionally make you use the Bashgal starter because that's the only card that's fast enough to be used before this card gets its effect off. So I tried making your deck to counter mine as much as possible, so you can thank me for that later. And then, again, I just want you to notice how every card is a Flame Dragon. You got Flame Dragon, Flame Dragon, Flame Dragon, Flame Dragon, anyway. And then we can search, if we really need to, I can search it out with the Legend. Like, I can search out a heal with the Legend for its skill, for a G-Guard, or I can use the Claw for his retire skill. You know, just, I mean, if you don't have him on the first turn, he's kind of useless. Because you want to use him as fast as you can. Like by the second turn, if you haven't used him yet, it's too late, because you're not really going to accumulate damage that fast. But, I mean, I don't use damage dealers, the limit break enablers, the OG limit break enablers, where they deal you 1 damage and then you heal it off at the end of that turn. I couldn't find the space for that, but it wouldn't be worth it anyway, so just wait for the second turn for your opponent to deal you damage. For Mother Orb, because between this card and the Seal Dragon, I prefer Mother Orb, A, the card art, B, the flavor text. And it's kind of weird saying the other one's name. Plus, I mean, it is a DBZ reference, and of course, don't forget to G-Guard. I'll go ahead and show you why this card's a complete reference. The flavor text says, if you will it, if you will for it, I will revive your friend, the life of your friend, because of course they use Shenron to revive someone, or I forgot who, in DBZ. Anyway. Also, that rounds it off for the crits going on. You got, 3 copies of Lizard General Conroe. It is essential to run at max copies, at least to me. But we had to find room for the card I need to, and I don't think even at 3 copies it loses that much effect, but still, the next card I would bump up to 4 definitely would be this card. He allows your standard, because it's not just your standard single counter charge, but it's a double counter charge, which is, it's flipping huge. I mean, even before you retire him, you get to use him, much more. Again, he heralds out not just a specific card like Lava Flow, and I mean legitimately any, like look at this, any card with the namesake, which is, again, amazing. But yeah, just huge. It really is. I mean, it's not just a legend, it's any card. He heralds out anything, which is flipping Amaze's Phase, man. Amaze's Phase. Actually, I just did it for the rhyme. I don't care about Phase in Slice. Except Phase Rex Dog. Bondsley is cute. The rest can die. By the time that you have called him out, he would have already used this effect, because that's an on-call skill, and then you can go straight into his act skill, and then by that time he's worthless anyway, because you'll just boost with him and retire. You'll just retire by the time you, because by the time you use his retire skill, both those effects have been used, so he's pointless anyway. Plus, the double counter charge is super amazing for the strides we got set up. Yeah. He's just way too awesome. Not only that, but he is a pretty good first turn attacker. Second turn attacker if you do go second. So that's pretty cool as well. This card's kind of in testing, but I like the idea of it being a 10k booster. I want to give it a shot, and just like, this card used to be nothing but a draw trigger, and now it's worth something, because it's the only real unit that can be used for boosting in real guards, but, yeah. It's GB1 for 10k boosting, if it's a Flame Dragon. 2 copies of Tar. Nobody really runs this card anymore, but I love it just because, again, it used to be a worthless crit, but now it's an actual good card. It also is in testing, but I feel it's a great addition to the deck, because it allows power for an extra stride option next turn, even a PG target unit, and once you ride on top of a Legion, both the Legion Mate and the Legion Master both go into the Soul. So that's great. That sets up amazing things for later. So the Soul Blast is never a problem. And then it just allows you to search out another grade 3 from top 5. Basically, it's Red Pulse when the Vanguard attacks, which is pretty flippin' sweet, because we'll always have the card we need. Next up, we do, of course, have 4 Escort Dragon Attendant Reyes. The reason I use this card over the other ones is, I know everybody in their mother runs Protect Orb, but I just don't personally like using it. I just don't. Ermo, Flame of Tranquility, Ermo, I call her Eron. It still has the same relative effect as it did when it was a grade 1 drop and draw. And I appreciate that a lot, but if I draw into a trigger, it's another one I can't use, it's wasted. And if it's a draw, that's really wasting it, because then I just can't get the draw effect off. It just, I don't know, I like it even in a way, it even annihilates the whole point of my trigger lineup, and at a slight change in my deck. Protect Orb, if you don't want to run this card, I would run it in second. But we already have so many counter chargers. We have double counter chargers, so there's no point for a single counter charge. And I don't know. It's you can search it out by legend because of his skill. And once it hits the field with Blaze, I can get it back to hand, and she goes back to the hand, and it goes with Blaze, and that's super easy to accomplish because of everything that I annihilate with. And then for Lava Flow, I mean, you can tell why it's used. Ignore the testing, maybe 3. That's just old notes that I haven't taken out yet. For Nihalem, it's self-explanatory, makes 30k columns easily, if not more. 3 Berserk Lord, it is of course a grade 4 greater, when you grade 4 attack, Flame Dragon attacks, you retire a grade 2 or less, and that sets up more combos. I mean, it is free retire, oh, wait, what? There, hang on, I think it says, counter, I believe it says Counter Blast there. Well, I mean, you know, when you see what we're working with, bro, it's nothing anyway. I know it says 0 copies of bar, but I'm just using this card for an explanatory effect. We don't need them with all the crazy columns you make. It's just, this deck is so aggressive, so I decided to take him out, but if we don't run a Metal Element, so he takes his place, if I did have him, I had him if I need him, but I don't know, I just don't think I'd use him. But I didn't want to completely forget about him. He's just kind of an honorable mention. I mean, he returns cards in the deck, making grade 3s an option as Stride Fodder if I run out of Lava Flows or whatever, or I want to use him as a booster, or a guard. But I just make sure I cover all my bases, have all my bases covered, whatever, for any situation, like literally any situation. Moving on, we have 2 copies of Dauntless Drive Dragon. Combined with Legend, Ace, Express, annihilates whatever's left of their hand, field, whatever. It annihilates. Then we got 4 copies of the Legend. I mean, it searches out all our cards pretty much. It's you know, it's just a huge deal. Main star. 3 copies of the X and the End. The Legion allows reshuffle of triggers, which is great. And then I keep getting cards I want to use for bar, whatever, etc. Also, I can choose to use the Legion as opposed to Great, because I manipulate the opponent so hardcore at this, and this is where it really gets good. The X has a skill where if it does not hit while it's Legioned, your opponent, it's a dual retire. So of course people are going to let that hit because they don't want to lose a third of their field. So people usually end up letting this through. So if I need to make them, so if I feel like I want damage to go through, I just use this card. Because, I mean, I'll just Legion with this card because it allows me to get free damage in because they'll never guard it really. Or even if they do, it is a dual retire. Well, but even if they do guard, I mean, it's the dual retire plus they're wasting shield anyway. And then just the opposite can be said for the End, because on the contrary, if I feel like I want a hit to not go through, meaning if I just want to use a card to purely waste their hand away, I use this card because it's Counter Blast 2, Persona Blast, restands when it hits. So of course people will guard that one, that way it doesn't go through, and it just burns hand and it's great. Going into G-Zone, we have 2 copies of Vortex Desire. I played it too because he seems to... he only retires 1 at a time, and if he hits, and that will only work once you try some maximum of a game anyway. One Mustafa, either this guy or Vortex should be your second stride. This card also hardly sees play, but it's potentially free retire if the attack hits. I mean, well, you definitely get a free retire, but it's free if it hits because you just countercharge it anyway. It makes it a tad better than Desire. However, Desire is Flame Dragon. This card's not. Making it. I mean, it's a choice between which one you want for your first stride. Then we have 4 copies of the Ace. It's free if you play the general combo. Restands is a grade 4 Flame Dragon. Triggers skills. Deserving of its max copies. Again, used with the Dauntless combo, it's annihilating. Then finally, we do have 4 copies of L'Express. I feel bad playing 4 of this card, but there are cards like Bermuda sometimes where the game goes a bit over what you'd expect, and you want to just be able to keep striding after stride after stride into this card. And I don't know. I don't think anybody has survived to this point, all 4 copies of this, because of the pressure it puts on. And then finally, 1 copy of Irresist Dragon. It retires a column for a single Soul Blast, which again, as aforementioned, is no problem. And I feel running Sea Breeze is mean, which I explained in my Gurgurt deck profile. And then, of course, you'll realize we only won 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cards. That's because we run 4 Generation Guard cards. I tend to run 4 Defeat Flare, just because I like how it retires legit half the field, and it annihilates cards like Gurgwit. Gurgwit's worth goes out the window because A, he only gets half the power, and also the rear guard, it just takes away all the pressure. But sometimes I would consider taking away 1 or 2, making it 2 and 2 would screw you, or 3 Defeat Flare would screw you. Anyway, guys, that is my deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please, please, please dump that deck. This is my deck that I've worked so hard on. I put my heart and soul into this deck. Please dump that deck. My own personal Heroes Legend deck profile. Customly named. Anyway, this has been Cardmaster Phoenix signing out. Thanks for watching, guys.